Welcome to the Send More Offers Real Estate Show with Brandon Barnes, showing you how to do wholesaling deals consistently without having to go on seller appointments. Learn the key tips and strategies that Brandon's students use to find deeply discounted properties that are pennies on the dollar, all while avoiding wear and tear on their vehicle, body, and freedom. Whether you're looking for your first deal or your next deal, it's time to send more offers with your host, Brandon Barnes.
Hey, Esteban, welcome to the show, man. I'm glad to have you.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me in the show. It's an honor.
Yeah, man. So, of course, this is a Send More Offers show, and we want to know, how folks can do more deals by sending more offers. I think that you have a lot of unique tactics, right? You're able to do deals online. You've worked with a bunch of other investors, business owners on different areas as a marketing officer, fractionally, and doing things yourself. So let's just dive right into that. Like, how should folks be going after deals today? How should they be marketing their services today? And how you and your teammates and colleagues doing wholesale deals right now?
Yeah, man. So, I see it many different ways because one of the biggest principles of starting a business and scaling business is you need to focus on two things mainly at the very beginning. From 0 to 1 million, the most important is to setting appointments and closing those appointments. So you have to understand what type of appointments will lead you to the place where you want to be. So if your end goal is having a conversation with someone that has a property that you could potentially put on the contract, then how do you reverse engineer to what needs to happen to talk with that individual, set an appointment with that individual, potentially close that individual. So if you want to do direct to a seller, which they have a property, but then you have to go through a sales process in order to truly understand these people's motivations, their current situation, where they want to be at, like what's their true pain points, and dive into the property situation, the facts of everything, and then see how you can offer them a solution. Then you probably would want to go and start looking at cold SMS, cold calling, maybe adding some online marketing. But if you're starting out, the cheapest and the easiest way is really going in direct response marketing with outbound marketing. And then later on, you'll be using something like online marketing. But we're getting ourselves way too ahead. The second option is who can actually bring me those type of deals. And you have many different people that could potentially bring you those type of deals. So we have other wholesalers that are not really that great at closing, but they potentially find you those leads. Or we also have real estate agents that ultimately have the contacts with sellers. Sellers still go to real estate agents, even if sellers ultimately are having a pain point, let's say, pre-foreclosure, or they're going through inherited situation or some sort of other motivations, such as, their family member recently died, so they're going through probate, or they just have a lot of repairs. They're still going to real estate agents and asking for help. So real estate agents is another way to potentially book an appointment that you need to, so you can ultimately close. So first, one thing that you got to focus on is choosing the right path while reverse engineering how you're going to get to that path. Because the thing is that marketing works no matter how you ultimately take it. Doesn't matter what type of marketing you do, as long as you do it, you do the daily activities that need to happen for it to actually get to the KPIs. You could do it consistently and you don't give up in your first 3 to 4, 6 months on doing that. It will work. All right. Every single marketing channel works. It's like, what type of effort and what type of commitment will you put into that marketing channel? So I say this all the time to our clients or to our prospects that come into our agency. Is like, we first dive in, it's like, okay, what's not working right now? Or what are you currently doing in order to solve the current pain? A lot of people are just having conversations with people that ultimately are unrealistic or want retail, or they just don't want to deal with a realtor, but at the same time, they want to sell it super high and have these very unrealistic expectations about what is going on. And the very small percentage, which is 1 to 3%, would actually even consider some sort of lowball cash offer, and they will have this ultra motivation, ultra distressed situation. So at the end of the day what is the current issue that you currently have? Why is it not working? You're reverse engineering everything towards finding the right channel that you're going to have to go all in. That's everything. A lot of our clients, for example, they come in and they're doing real estate agent outreach. So agent outreach where they are leveraging real estate agents that don't know how to handle this type of probate deals, pre-foreclosure deals, or any type of motivated sellers that don't know how to handle, but now have them as the go-to resource, right? Because now you're creating a relationship with agents and getting seller leads from agents, right? Which understand the game a little bit. But now you have to cold call the agent or cold message the agent or send them a DM on Facebook by adding them and then telling them that you could potentially offer them a solution for those people that are going through different type of horrible situations that you can ultimately handle because you have cash or you have the cash buyers to handle those type of deals. And a lot of people will say, okay, let's see if this makes sense. But at the end of the day, man, it ends up being like how many contacts, how many of these opportunities you do per day. When I started my business, I started reaching out to real estate agents, asking them for a free consultation and a free trial on my services. Why? Because I knew that they could potentially want more sellers or buyers. And I told them in exchange of this, I'll be willing to do this for free. And I did this in social media. In LinkedIn, there is a lot of real estate agents. In Facebook, there is a lot of real estate agents. And you send an outreach message, and then you ultimately book an appointment with them using a calendar tool such as Calendly or a CRM similar to Go High Level, where once you set it up, now you have them in your pipeline and you will have many of these opportunities now lined up every single day. The more conversations that you have, the more opportunities that you're going to potentially have in getting one potential good contract or an opportunity with a good contract. And a lot of people just don't do that or stop at the very hard point, at the very tipping point where it's like, hey, this is very hard. It takes a lot of effort. I'm going to try another thing. So when you go into one channel, that channel, you will make it work. And see what KPIs ultimately are going to work for that specific channel. It might take 50 agent requests to get one agent to say, I have sellers that may work for you. Let me send them those sellers to you. Or it might take 30 agent requests, right? It might take 100 cold messages with agents in order to do that. And the same thing goes to direct to seller. Ultimately, what is that specific KPI that will get you one great conversation? How many of those great conversations that turn into an appointment would get you into a potential contract that is a workable contract for what you're trying to do? And then after that, figuring out how many of those leads that are great conversations are going to turn into a contract, and then how many of those will turn into a deal. So once you reverse engineer that, I was able to say, hey, look, man, I'm going to go all into this for 3-4 months and I'm going to get to KPIs. It's going to start working, but it's going to need consistency, right? That's kind of like in the very, very high level, what you will need in order to set appointments. That's a very, very, very first part in order to set quality appointments. After that, it goes to closing appointments, which is a little bit of a different story. But
so amazing stuff. So here's the thing, right? You broke down a lot there, and I like the order in which you went. So, there's 2 ways to go after this, right? If you're going to go direct to seller, or you're going to partner with the ones that can help you close a deal. You also talked about solutions-based, motivation, pain point, and I want to deep dive that as well. But who can bring you those deals? Agent outreach is a very hot topic right now. And I think more and more people are realizing how much agents can do for you. And then I also have a buddy that works for Keighley Atlanta. Shout out Chris Campbell, that even though, their corporate business model is, heavy agent outreach, he's still doing numbers by working with other wholesalers. And you've seen it all, right? Working through your agency. And the other nice gem is that you mentioned like 1 to 3% of sellers that actually have this issue. So, when we're calling, right, we can call 115 people in an hour and get a connection, but maybe you speak to 15 of those. So that number breaks down to about like 10% response rate. And the majority of those will be not interested, but it'll be those 1 or 2. And that's kind of how it works on the cold calling front. Similarly, if you do direct mail, similar, right? And this is all outbound marketing. The alternative to that, right, is then inbound marketing. And I like that you broke down from that 1 to $1 million, right? A dollar, $100 to $1 million, right? Going and starting that outbound marketing is how you get into the game. And then you can start to leverage these great inbound opportunities, such as online PPC. I really want folks to hear that because, it's oftentimes right on the other end of that gold mine that you finally start to do deals. And if you're approaching things solution-based, motivation, pain points, how you solve. And that's a whole closing topic. And we'll get to that. To go back to the top, right? And that first, $1 million, like how fast have you worked? How fast have you seen someone be able to get to that $1 million mark? Starting off cold, they start with their outbound reach. You can take this either way, whether they're going to do outbound cold calling, text messaging, or mail, or say, if this person is doing agent outreach or JV deals. How fast have you seen somebody climb that ladder to $1 million and then transition to more inbound leads?
So I believe that, when I started, for example, my transition from using only outbound to using outbound plus inbound, I was already more or less around $65,000 a month, more or less around $65,000 a month. But
the that's thing what you need to make $1 million annually. Right,
it's like $88,000 to make $1 million. But I was already at capacity what I could sustain in terms of managing the virtual team that would do the outbound for me. That's where you need to make choices, because if you're a great operator where you ultimately operate well by managing people, leading them towards using these outbound marketing channels such as SMS, cold calling, right? RVM, whatever it is that works outbound. If you're a great operator and then you can bring in another virtual assistant, you can bring in another dialer, you can get them to work to KPIs, get them trained to how it works, and then you're ultimately closing those deals, I would definitely recommend that you can continuously do the outbound until now you have a cap of like, okay, now I have so many virtual assistants that I have to take care of that are doing this outbound outreach for me, right? I might need a virtual assistant lead. I might need a cold call lead as outbound marketing lead, someone that takes care of the KPIs so when you get to the 70-80% capacity of work where you're managing them and you're also doing whatever it is that you need to do as a CEO, where you're, figuring out disposition, figuring out systems, closing deals, and so on. You have to decide, am I a great operator or not? I myself was not one of the best operators. I had to hire an operator later on in the process, but that's because I like to think of how can I shorten the time frame and the effort and sacrifice that it takes me to get to the same place. And that's where I came in with my coach, and my coach told me, dude, man, you're like at 65K a month. And it seems like, managing VAs and scaling an outbound team is not really your thing. It's not made for everyone. You have different options. You can add ads, you can add online advertising, which now you don't have to hire a team of virtual assistants. You just literally just have your setup, maybe have a media buyer or a trafficker or advertising specialist that could, handle the management for you, or you can do the management yourself. And whenever you want to scale that, you just increase your ad spend. So at this point, you're just taking care of these leads that are coming in, making all your best efforts into converting those leads into deals. But now you only have to tell Facebook and Google, send me more leads. I'm going to spend more money, instead of increasing the complexity in the operations, which is the operator role, right? And ultimately making your life a little bit more miserable. And there is many ways to approach this, because online marketing, it has that beauty of leveraging technology, basically the algorithm of Facebook and the algorithm of Google. But at the same time, you need a different type of skill set. Like now you have the skill set of setting that up, managing that, and also these leads that come in, they have an intention, but they also want to speak with someone that wants to offer them a solution. That doesn't mean that they're going to give their property away, right? Because the other thing that we help other clients do, and this happens later on in the process when they start getting more leads, more appointments, is that now they have to manage the operation level still. Because online marketing will still give you leads, less leads than cold call, but still give you leads, which are higher quality leads. Yeah. And when you get stacked up with appointments, with opportunities, with now you have to follow up, you now have to go back into the operational mode, where it's following up, lead management, ensuring that these leads don't fall through the crack. And that's where you need to make a decision of what type of investment do I have to get back into the company. And it usually comes down to hiring an operator, or hiring someone that helps you with the operations, hiring someone that is a great manager of leads, manager of appointments, manager of your system that ultimately helps you. Like that also comes down. Yeah. Or you don't have to start with like a big one. Maybe it could be someone that has the right skills that could potentially manage your pipeline, speak with the people, and not let the people that are in your pipeline fall through a crack, and be able to do all this operational admin stuff at the very beginning. It could be an executive assistant, right? And this executive assistant can act as a follow-up person, as a lead manager. And then once you have found this person, you can remove yourself from many different things that are taking your day-to-day, and you can focus on operating at a higher level, where it's now the more qualified people that are in the appointment pipeline and the people that are in the follow-up pipeline, where it's like, okay, now I have spoken with this person, getting your sales skills better, maybe dialing your marketing in a better way. And someone that works in the operations that is now handling the leaks that your business is having in the lead generation part, right? So now, 100%, we all have them. And then at some point, that person, you can ascend that individual if they have the capacity of, being able to understand what type of operational things need to happen, how to stop the leaks to happen. You can ascend that person or hire someone that now will manage operations. And that means your lead generation, the management of this follow-up specialist or lead managers and so on. Someone that will take care of your day-to-day, your calendar, or the things that you used to do kind of manual a little bit, and leading the team towards a culture that is going to always think about how can we make more calls? How can we get more appointments? How can we ultimately improve the lead contact rate? How can we improve the lead to appointment rate? How can we ultimately improve the show up rate? How can we ultimately improve the lead maximization? So you have a lot of leads. How can we maximize them instead of letting those leads stay there in that pipeline forever and not do anything with them for literally months or never again? Right. So someone will be able to help you. If you're great at doing that, amazing. You can build a team yourself. But the problem is that majority of us, we're visionaries. We're not really great at doing that. Right?
Yeah. Real quick, you're talking about, a really good, important piece of the business. Like, right, you're, the operator, then ascending to more of the CEO, and then going from there. To touch on the closing aspect, and I like that you mentioned from the very beginning of setting up more appointments. I mean, look, my business was originally built on cold calling, and there is a market cycle, situation that will happen over the years where, look, cold calling was hot in the late 2015 to 2020. And then it's, been oversaturated. So you kind of maybe sometimes have to shift into different channels. But, we used to do everything 100% virtual, sending offers to everybody. And it still works. We still get people that'll sign that you never, have that conversation, never meet them in person. But we ultimately made a shift and a decision to start to close as much in person as possible and then do the ones virtual that can't be closed in person. Is that your suggestion to anybody listening right now to still be trying to close in person over 100% virtual?
Yeah. So for example, closing in person, I believe it gives you a little bit of a better slide edge over someone that is trying to close on the phone. However, someone that is great on the phone can do much better job than someone that goes in person, takes their time, have to drive. And let's just say that someone that loves someone on the phone can be a candidate to close a contract. That's someone that is okay and goes in-person appointment, has never really had like a great sales experience. And the person on the phone will beat them every single time. If it's great, if the person is great. And the reason why is because when you have someone on the phone, you can go straight to the point. You can also connect with them, and that little conversation will be as impactful as it is required. If you visit someone in person, the person will always try to look at you, your demeanor, will try to judge you, will try to see, hey, what this person is trying to really do, every single thing that there's more time for rapport built, but there's more time for that person, that seller, for example, that is seeing that potential buyer to get judged or to have a kind of like a remorse of, I don't want to really do business with this individual, while you're maximizing and optimizing time in the phone call conversation.
Exactly.
And you can do way more conversations. Exactly. Yeah. And you can do way more of those quality conversations on the phone as opposed to driving to other places. And yes, you can have a physical visual impact. You can touch them. You can literally a handshake, whatever it is that you do, but you will be able to maximize your time by making it virtual, by making it remotely. Right. And I haven't seen, go for it.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, so, I love the, in person, over the phone, right? Direct to seller. But then that other option that we discussed at the very beginning of finding the right people that can do the deals with you, or agents, like that being a hot topic, where do you fall for an individual operator, somebody that comes to your agency, right? The Hustle Media Group. And when do you say, hey, I think for you, man, going and outreach directly to seller is going to be best versus, going and starting to connect with as many other wholesalers, JV partners, and agents? What do you think has a slight edge right now? And caveat, I love that you mentioned LinkedIn. I think that's one of those little known, really great organic social services that you can really get a competitive edge on by reaching out to agents through LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Where do you push people? Do you say, hey, direct to seller, or, JV, pocket listing, agent outreach?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that each one, it has its own type of skill set, and you can ultimately prefer to do one because it's more comfortable than the other one. Direct to seller is not an easy job. All right. Why? Because a small percent of the sellers will actually agree how you package your offer towards cash. And you'll find that over time, way more complicated because sellers are also, they're not on top of the news. They're not on top of the economy. They're not on top of what's happening in real estate. They're unrealistic. They see something in Zillow, or it's more of a B2C approach that ultimately you need to go through a really solid sales process and be solution driven, like you said, where it's like, now this seller, if I really want to help the seller, this person needs to sell a home. Let's say they come in from Google. But the thing is that a cash deal is not going to work for that property or for that seller, or that seller is ultimately not in a position right now to accept a cash deal right now. So if that seller ultimately doesn't fit a cash criteria, majority of people, what they do is that they call it a garbage lead or they call it trash lead. They just give up on that and they move on to the next one. Instead, if you go solutions-based, you can find someone that could find a solution towards a seller that has a motivation, that has a property that could fit a criteria of, if you educate yourself on a creative financing or an innovation deal, you can find another person that has the ability to have a conversation with the seller and see if there's something going on. Or if you have acquired that knowledge, which is ultimately the best thing to do, now you can fulfill the seller's needs, right? In a different way than just a cash deal. So you have to be able to really, really increase your skill sets and get highly, highly skilled in negotiating, finding the root causes and the actual problems of their current situation, and ultimately giving them great offers, or just giving them the option that you can solve the problem not only in one way, but in the way that fits the seller. All right. So it's a highly skilled role that a lot of people struggle with, and I understand it. In the B2B side, for example, whenever you're sending a message to an agent, you're sending it to another business that also has a potential deal, but now it's a different type of conversation. Now you have to, okay, what's the win-win here? What value do I provide? What can you do for my client that I already have? And, how do you maximize the conversations that you have with real estate agents to do all these bucket listings, right? So it's two different skill sets. It still require a great sales system, like a process in order to take from someone that is interested to someone that is going to doing business with you, right? And majority of people miss out on this. Like, I'm going to say it, this game is marketing first, sales is the second king, and then after that is real estate. Majority of people focus their time on really learning the real estate part of it and the technicality of this stuff and numbers, which is great. You become great at that. But if you always want to have a business in any type of economy, marketing and sales, that's about it, right?
Love it.
That's about it.
That's gold. Man, this has been great. And I love, walking through kind of the decision points, what's best for your business, how you're going to go after it, focusing on solutions, closing, kind of how the percentages play out. Are you going to go direct to seller or business to business, B2B, and work with other JV partners and agents? Do you have, off the top of your head, a deal or a case study of a business that you've been able to work with and you've seen some amazing results, or was a crazy deal you got closed, or some other business owner that you've been able to help scale their business? Can you think of one right now to share with the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, I have a flipper that he always was used to going direct to wholesaler, right? So doing B2B type of, very similar to what we're talking about. So this flipper used to get the deals from wholesalers and never really had to talk or deal with a homeowner. And the flipper thought that by dealing and negotiating with the wholesaler on a good price would still fit the same type, because he was doing it for years. But the problem is that now there was there's not an inventory, and wholesalers were also trying to make money too. So he needed to go direct to seller now, or he needed to find another solution. He thought that ultimately the same process of negotiating with the wholesaler was the same process of negotiating with the seller. And so he came in, and thank God he had a very open mind in doing this. But he noticed that, first of all, dealing with a homeowner that has an ultra pain motivation, or has a motivation, enough motivation to sell their home, and it's a high ticket item, which is house, the biggest most expensive thing that they ever purchase, need to go through a specific process. So this flipper who started talking with these sellers started struggling in the very beginning, And this flipper used to do, I think it was like 6 or 8 flips a year or something like that in Arizona. And because he was open-minded to our suggestions, be like, I think that one of the biggest things that you're going to encounter is that you're very good at doing the math, the numbers, and seeing if that deal is going to be good for you, and ultimately taking from a property that needs a lot of repair, rehab, all the way to flip, right? You're great at that. But have you not considered that maybe you're playing in a different arena? The arena of the homeowner. Like, how do you ultimately take this homeowner that has never seen you, never heard of you, has never really trusted other wholesalers because they get cold called all the time, and they see an ad to see if you can solve the problem? How can you get them to trust you? How could you get them to ultimately accept that you are the person that they're going to sell their property to? You have to go to our trainings every single Wednesday. For example, we have trainings for our clients every single Wednesday. We call it sales conversion trainings, where we take you through an actual experience and how to give a seller the experience that they need as a client, so that the seller, while they're having a conversation with you, becomes a quality conversation, not just any conversation where you're just check marking. It's an actual conversation, but it has a process. So you can qualify where you're actually messing up. And after that, this flipper has been flipping over 16 deals every single year, and he's ramping up. He went from 6 or 8 deals a year to 16 deals a year, and all of that from online marketing and doing his job on attending every single training and role playing and just applying those sales elements into his conversations with the sellers. Right? And this could happen on the B2C side and B2B side. Both will require, because you get someone interested, but it will require an actual true process to take them through a proper conversation. So that was one of the biggest things. Actually, recently on YouTube, he has a case study recently with us.
Love it. Good stuff, man. Aspire. And I love that you were able to work with this guy, and everything that we talked about from top to bottom, guys, is going to be useful information. Really just taking a step back, assessing your business, looking at your skill sets, deciding whether you need to be that operator or not. Do you need to go direct to seller, or do you need to go business to business? Are some of the questions that we have to ask ourselves. And it's all culminates in sending enough offers, right? And offers can be an actual contract sign, or just reaching out, a solicitation to another business to see if you can work with them, help them. And I love that you also went kind of the Think and Grow Rich model and said, in the beginning, hey, I'll work with you, agent, for free in the beginning to do more deals. Absolutely love it. Look, well, you know what, Esteban, I can't let you go without putting you through the lightning round. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
All right. Look, so I have a series of rapid fire questions for you. You don't know the question. I don't know your answer. So say the very first thing that comes to your mind. What's one book that's been helpful to your growth as an agency owner in the real estate space?
Well, okay, that's a good one.
Favorite mentor or whatever.
Yeah, man. So one good book. I'm actually going to see it from here. Let's see it. Okay. So I'm just going to say it. I think that one of the most impactful book that I have ever read, it's been the one from Grant Cardone about where you...
Next.
No, don't be average. All right. Well, it's not exactly the title of it. I have to see it, but I know exactly the content of it. There you go. Be obsessed or be average, right? Something like that. So if you're, for example, obsessed on and what he talks about, it just comes down to one simple thing that a lot of startup owners have very beginning, but don't have it clear, is what's that obsession that is going to drive you every single time that you reach a goal. When you have a peak in business and when you have some sort of win, there's always something that needs to be able to propulse you to another level. Because I actually learned this from Patrick Bet-David, is that how does he actually maintain his biggest executives in his companies always performing at a high level once they achieve what they wanted. So he sits down with them and asks them, okay, what are your next big three? And they're like, what do you mean? The big three things that you will for sure achieve right now in the next few years or in the next 1 to 5 years that you haven't actually achieved. Once you get to the point where you have achieved something, let's say, now I have achieved this marketing channel, is generating leads to me, I'm making some deals. What is that thing that is actually going to drive you forward? And a lot of people forget that there is something bigger than yourself, something bigger than money, something bigger than achieving $100,000 a month that needs to consistently drive you, because otherwise it's going to be harder to always want to keep learning, always want to keep improving, or always want to grow to the level where now you have all the time that you want, because you're not obsessed with something. You don't know your why. You don't know why you're doing something, right? You don't know exactly what is it that is boiling in your blood in terms of, I need to achieve this now that is just so much bigger than me, so much bigger than all the money that I have. And that is what ultimately keeps pushing me forward. It also keeps my team being pushed forward, because now I paint that picture as a North Star, as some sort of vision that is going to also be engraved in their head. Be like, I am in this company now because I also believe that this company can turn into this, or I can turn and be part of that big vision that my founder gave me. And we're going to be able to be impactful. So what are you obsessed about? What is your why? Why are you doing things at the end of the day, right? Is it just to make money? If it is just to make money, become a closer, dude. Like, literally, closers make a lot of money. If it is just to make money, I don't know, like, you can ultimately do a lot of different things than just going into business, because business is hard. And now once you get to the point where it's like, this is really hard, or I'm winning a lot, and you go back to your why, you go back at why you're obsessed with something, that is what's going to keep driving you forward. And I think a lot of people miss out on that feeling and that emotion and that inner fire that you have, and don't achieve the things that they want to achieve and stop being consistent at the things that they should be consistent. And there's something going on, and then they just get comfortable, or they get, they have the feeling that this is hard, instead of thinking is, what is required for me to get to that why, right? And now you develop that sense of obsession.
Good stuff. Cool. All right, we're going to do rapid fire on these ones. Who's one person that you would have drinks or coffee with, dead or alive, and why?
Drinks and coffee?
Drinks or coffee.
Dude, I want to say that at this point, it would be Patrick Bet-David. He's at the level where I want to be at, right? But also Alex Hormozi. He's at the level where I really reciprocate with him. A lot of the things that he says, I completely agree. Some of them, I slightly disagree, but majority of them, it's kind of like, I see myself being also this way. I want to have a successful career, successful lifestyle this way. Simple, fulfilled
stuff. Love it. What's your best advice for someone looking to do their very first wholesale deal?
Dude, I started looking at the 4 levers that you ultimately need to have. So there is a book called Naval's Almanack, and it talks about 4 levers. So the first lever is going to be capital. You can leverage your capital to do things that you wanted to do, or the things that you need to do. The lever from bottom to top, the other lever, it's going to be labor. You have to leverage labor, which is help from other individuals. It could be a virtual assistant. It could be a JV partner. It could be someone that is helping you. By leveraging the work of others, the time of others, you will be able to get to where you want to be. And the other 2 levers are going to be media and technology, or code, whatever. So once you understand that there's 4 levers, what is it that I can do right now to start moving the needle forward? So if you're having a problem with not finding leads, then what is the real problem? Is it that you're actually driving for dollars and therefore you don't have time to find needs in a volume scale? Perhaps you can find a loan or a credit card that can help you pay for, I don't know, an outreach method or virtual driving for dollars where now you're leveraging your time. Now you're using technology and you're also paying some capital in order to do that. You have two levers there. You don't have to hire a virtual assistant at that point, but you're using two levers. Maybe you do want to leverage labor. So you're using labor and capital. So now you're paying a virtual assistant to do outreach to a list that you have instead of driving for dollars, for example. Or maybe you do want to drive for dollars because you have all the time in the world and you also have money. But if you don't have money and you don't have time, choose, right? A lot of people overcomplicate this and it's just choosing those four levers and which ones should I start doing, right? If you have all four levers to pull, that's great. Not a lot of people don't, but start with at least one or two.
Good stuff. What's one mistake on a deal or business in general that if you had a do-over, you would take that do-over?
Sure. A mistake in a deal, right?
Or business.
Or in a business. I'm going to go back to, for example, I'm a person that is ultimately very, very risky right now. But that took me to evolve. And like it took me time. It evolved to get to be a little bit more of a risky person. I'm a very analytical by nature though. I usually tend to overanalyze and think through things more time than I should be. And I have missed out on opportunities that could have been really great for that time, but because I took too long to decide, right? And one of those opportunities was, for example, I was going to buy a property and I was going to partner up with two other people on a property in Detroit on doing a great flip and also doing a few other things together. But I took too long to analyze the situation, whether it was good or whether it's not. And this happens has happened to me in other situations, but I took too long to actually make a decision. And I think you have to have a fine balance or just a good feeling and sometimes trust your guts or trust the unknown about making decisions faster. And if you feel that if this decision is going to ultimately kill you if it goes wrong and it's going to be the worst thing ever, probably is not a good decision. But if there is an upside and you're not going to die if you make this decision, you're just probably going to lose a little bit, but there is an upside to it, it's probably a decision that you should probably take. And you should be faster on doing that.
Yeah. No analysis paralysis. I love it. What's the financial goal that you have set for your team for this calendar year?
So for this calendar year, we're going to get to $350,000 a month.
Love it. If you woke up tomorrow with $500 million deposited into your bank account overnight, what's the first thing that you would go out and purchase with that newfound money?
I like to purchase the rest of the life for the closest people that I have. So basically, if the closest people that I have, they need to, let's say, retire from work or buy a house, and then I can take care of them. And then they choose to come with me, along with me and help me. That's going to be better. I need that type of energy, people that are really close to me. And at the end of the day, we can multiply money together. Like you can't win alone. So you want the others that are going to help you win to be taken care of first. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be enough money after that. Like you can retire someone like with that 2, 3, 4 people with that type of money, right?
All right.
So
good stuff. Last one. What's your best advice for someone looking to scale their business right now, their wholesale operation?
Yeah. So take a look at the things that ultimately are taking the most amount of pain. Like you have to know your business real well, but the most amount of pain always comes from different things. It could be that you don't have enough time. It could be that you're not closing enough. It could be that you need more volume. It could be that you're not retaining your team members. And start reverse engineering exactly that. And almost always is that you have not educated yourself properly. You're not believing something that other people do believe about that problem that you have. Now you have to change your belief. And you're also not doing something that you should be doing right now. And you know that usually. So if you really want to scale, is you grow a company through systems and scale a company through people. And that's one of the biggest things that I say to everyone.
Oh, that's a gem. You you build a company through systems and you grow a company through people. I love that. I love that a lot. Man, this has been great. And I want to invite you to share with folks how they can learn more about you, how they can follow social media and or come and get a consultation, because I know you have a lot to offer to aspiring entrepreneurs or folks that are in the business that are looking to grow and scale. How can they reach out to you? Where do you want them to go and how can they follow back?
Yeah, so you can follow my Instagram at Estenick, Estenick. So that's part of my first name and middle name, Esteban Nicholas. So Estenick and Instagram. We also have a free Facebook group called Real Estate Investing and Wholesaling Marketing and Conversion Mastery. So it's a free good group that we have masterclasses actually for free. We actually post our podcast. Our podcast is called Real Estate Online Hustlers Podcast. And yeah, we post free content. I'm going to go hard on YouTube this year and I'm really looking forward to do that.
Yeah. And also, guys, check out hesselmedia.com. That's HESEL media.com. I request a consultation. Look, this has been great, Esteban. I really appreciate it. And I want to make sure that folks get this message and go out there and absolutely crush it. Make sure that you're sending more offers and you can learn a lot, right here at sendmoreoffers.com. There's nothing for sale, just a bunch of great content, show notes. You can even contact me. Would love to link with you, especially if you're doing deals in the Atlanta, Georgia market. Sendmoreoffers.com. Esteban, this has been great, man. I appreciate it. I can't wait to continue following your journey and hopefully we get some deals done right here in my city.
All right, man. Thanks so much, Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you. And always, guys, send more offers, do more deals. Until next time.
Take care, my brother.
Appreciate it.
That's all for this episode of the Send More Offers Real Estate Show with Brandon Barnes. But we know you're craving more knowledge to get yourself ready for that next deal. To schedule a call with Brandon to learn more about how to do deals consistently without seller appointments in a repeatable way, be sure to visit us at sendmoreoffers.com. And be sure to tune in for the next episode of the Send More Offers Real Estate Show.